Beating and surpassing all audience expectations every day. Rush Limbaugh, America's real anchorman, America's truth detector, and the doctor of democracy. And the most talked about radio talk show and host in the country. 800-282-2882 if you want to be on the program. The email address rushbo@eibnet.us. It's something it's in NBC News, but I haven't seen this anywhere other than on their website. Majority in leading European Union nations support Trump-style travel ban. A majority of Europeans would support a Trump-style ban on further immigration from primarily Muslim countries, according to a poll of more than 10,000 people in 10 countries. An average of 55% of those surveyed for the London-based think tank Chatham House agreed that immigration from Muslim-majority countries should be halted. I was talking about this right before the end of the previous hour. And I said, these people are way ahead of us. They've seen their countries overrun. Germany, Switzerland, all of the United Kingdom, they have been overrun by illegal immigration and refugees from predominantly Muslim and Middle Eastern war-torn regions. And when it happened, their elites welcomed people in just like the elites in this country want the same thing to happen here. And they didn't do much to oppose it and stop it because they were, for the most part, these populations are good little socialist populations. They trust their government. They think everybody's looking out for everybody. And they see what's happened here. And they now, when they see what President Trump did, they wished it would happen in their country. They are ahead of us because what Trump is trying to do is make sure that what has happened in Europe does not happen here. Now, it's interesting. You asked the question, and we're back to it again. Why would people be in support of this? Does it strike anybody that on 9/11, when there were 19 militant Islamic hijackers who flew 3 airplanes that crashed and 3,000 Americans were killed, does it strike anybody that from that day forward, the elites and many of the leaders in the United Nations and in this country moved into high gear to defend Islam and Muslim countries and militant Islamic extremism, which to me is the exact opposite of what should have happened given human nature. And by human nature, I mean common sense. This has always amazed me that since 9/11, rather than, if 19 people kill 3,000 Americans the way they did, that'd be all the information you need to kind of get the idea that what's in the future, unless you were vigilant. And instead, our State Department started doing seminars on why do they hate us? Why is it our fault? What did we do to cause this? And then it became, we were told, it's our support for Israel when you get right down to it, Mr. Limbaugh. Militant Islam hates us because of our support for Israel. Yeah, okay, maybe that's what we were told, and maybe that's a factor, but it's certainly about much more than that. It's simply that we exist, that we are infidels. Look, I'm not trying to restate old history. I've always been confused, just in the strict common sense. Why in the world have we gone out of our way to be welcoming to the people that did this? That's what I have never understood. And whenever anybody has suggested vigilance and preparedness against further attacks like this, those people have been called bigots and racists or anti-Muslim, and we've always been told to guard against Muslim backlash against Muslims. And it was almost immediate, the defense of Islam and militant Islamic extremism even reached a fevered pitch after that attack. And it's never made sense to me since. So we've got, at the time that's going on, we have open borders, illegal immigration. People from the southern hemisphere, Central America, are pouring into the United States as wished and desired by the Democrat Party. Any attempt to stop it, get control over it, is called racism and bigotry as well. And now, in Europe, the immigration and refugee status is primarily militant Islamic extremists. And we're all told, shut up, don't comment. We need to be bigger than they and let it all happen. It's defied common sense. Every bit of it has defied common sense. And now, when the president wants to do what he promised to do during the campaign and have a vetting system that's a little bit better than what we've had, and have a temporary moratorium trying to make sure we do not make the mistake of letting the wrong people in, all hell breaks loose. It's an utter violation of all common sense to me. And the same thing with illegal immigration. Nobody's opposed to legal immigration. We're all for legal immigration with the proper vetting that we've always engaged in. But there are people that want the borders of this country wide open for anybody. Now we're dealing with the idea, well, we got a bunch of lazy middle class and lower middle class, white working class people, and they don't want to work anymore. And we need people to come in and do these jobs. So it's kind of a variation on the old saw that there are jobs Americans won't do anymore. Seems like that's now undergoing a change. It's not jobs Americans won't do anymore. It's lazy Americans who have grown fat, dumb, and happy after years and years and years of prosperity. And we need eager beavers who have not yet become wealthy to come into this country and do the work they won't do. And when you look at it from afar, or even nearby, when you look at it close up, it's clear what's happening. And that is an effort is underway to fully transform this country away from the principles, traditions, and institutions of its founding. And the people in the last election rose up against that. And so now the battle is joined, and Trump is doing what he can to follow through on his campaign promises. And the people that supported him are sticking with him. But the effort to continue what was going on is in full speed. But the common sense of it it's never made common sense to me. Common sense would be if 19 people kill 3,000 of your fellow citizens, that you would be on guard for the same kind of thing happening. And instead, we've gone the other way. Well, it's more than it's our fault. Our fault, that's just a common left-wing reaction to it. There's an active desire. My point is an active desire to undermine all of these Western civilized democracies. There is an ongoing effort to undermine all of them. Here, Western Europe, you name it. No. Let me put it this way. I don't ever want to be confusing. Folks, we allowed more Muslims to settle here in the United States in the 10 years after 9/11 than we did in the 10 years prior to it. That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. We acted guilty and responsible after 9/11. It doesn't make any sense. That's all I'm saying. We acted like we had done something wrong, or that we had to prove that we harbored no animosity. We were attacked. It just never made any sense to me, and it still doesn't. We don't need Saudi Arabia's oil today as much as we did because of fracking. So common sense-wise, it makes no sense. But there is a reason for it, and if you have information, if you know what's going on, that reason would make sense if you know the motivations of the people involved. But just on the surface, their common sense, why do we act like we were responsible? Why do we act like we had to do something to show our sorrow, It never made any sense to me. Still doesn't.